Right, it is Salt O'Clock. We're back with your weekly installment of Sodium. And this week it is myself, Goatworn Armcast, Guthrum of Norvik, the Shire Reeve, Just Eastern Things, and a surprise guest.
Yeah,
He's
Mr.
back
Yorkie.
from his... You interrupted me, you bastard. You ruined the groove!
Do it again. Mute Alex. I want to hear.
No, don't mute me, please.
Fuck it. Yes, we have a very special guest. Bit of a surprise, bit of a last-minute addition, but back from his travels in Italy, which I think, if I've heard it right, was the longest distance booty call any of us have partaken.
Oh no, you can't have that in there.
You can't say that.
No, absolutely
Can't say
not.
that.
Well, have you officially drawn the line at that?
Yeah, man,
Yeah.
mate, come on.
after everything that's ever been on this podcast, that is the point that the rest of them draw the line. Is you saying
I didn't. I thought it was fine.
It's alright. Right. So
do
you
it
fine
again,
with
man.
it then?
None of you
fine
have
with it
leapt to Just Eastern's defence when I've called him short or ginger or
That's
Scottish.
because those are both true.
Alex, let's be honest. Technically, it wasn't untrue.
No, true. Sorry, yeah, that's a good point. Okay, fine. But if you're alright with it.
Well, this is going
Leave
to
it
be fun to edit later.
Leave it in. We'll do it live.
Nice.
Yeah. We'll edit it in post. So
Or you could leave it in.
That's become the
we're gonna
motto.
do what...
That's become the motto of this podcast is we'll edit it in post.
Yeah.
And then
We're
it never
gonna
gets
we're gonna do what Ross did for a week and leave it in.
Okay.
Oh no.
I'll have you know, I went on a delightful holiday to visit some fantastic historical monuments,
You visit monuments?
and also do something else. Which
Well, as they say, when in Rome.
Yes, indeed.
How much shit is she going to give you for this, by the way?
well, I'd love to say she doesn't listen to this, but she does. So, probably a lot. So I'm probably going to say that it's been the shortest long distance relationship the world has ever seen after this.
Oh man.
So all your admirers should stay posted then.
All
What's this
the
space?
e-girls wanting to get Ross's approval have now just looked at his profile again. No longer
Damn it.
eligible. No,
Damn
opposite.
it, Just Eastern.
Eligible again.
For those listening at home and who can't see, Just Eastern has posted a very lewd image, a very suggestive image in the chat, because he's a dirty boy with a dirty mind.
I'll put it on.
Yes.
Put it on the thing.
That's
Oh.
right, people. It's going to be one of those episodes. Buckle in.
I have not had nearly enough whiskey for this.
Buckle up, buckle in. Let me begin.
Is what Ross said.
I knew you would say that.
Yeah.
Did you say buckle in or buckle on?
Oh no. Pegging references.
Just bite the pillow.
Oh no. Right.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
So
dear.
welcome to the
Well,
Goatworn
it can't get much
Armcast.
worse than this, can it? Can't get much worse than this.
You
A
better not
flawless
cry,
intro.
you better not go.
Welcome to the Goatworn Armcast for those who are interested in historical discussion and lively debate.
Yes. This
Yes.
is a show about Vikings.
We are Vikings, all of us, not Romans.
Oh.
I'm a senator. You know?
We'll get to that. We'll get to that. We have a relevant
Yeah.
question.
To give this some sort of semblance of structure, Ross, how have you been? I mean, we kind of gave a bit of the game away as to what you've been doing in the meantime, but how have you been since you were last on the show?
Actually, really good. Thank you. I've actually started a new workout routine, which seems to be doing absolute bits. I've been getting a lot of work done, which I can't complain about. And as Goatworn has subtly subtly indicated, and you may not have picked up on, is I went to Italy to visit a lady I've been talking to, and we are now an item.
No longer eligible. Sorry, girls.
Yeah, sorry, girls. Oh, I feel so bad. Now I just feel guilty. Thanks, Alex.
Yeah, none are more heartbroken than I am.
Well, don't forget, she did say that if I do anything with anybody else, you're the one person allowed on the list.
Sweet, hall pass.
I'll refer you to the image we all saw before the podcast.
Which one was that? Oh yeah. Okay, so we can't put that on the podcast
No.
on YouTube, so we'll just leave it at
one word: fellatio.
2 words: autofellatio.
Technically, that's still one word because it's hyphenated.
Yeah, it is.
Or is it actually? Is it?
Nerd.
No, hyphenated counts as one word.
All right, nerds.
It might even just be one word. Hold on, I'm googling autofellatio. Bear with.
3 words: self-sucky offy.
Oh dear. Right. Okay. Yes.
4 words.
Okay.
Stop.
One
Please
word.
Stop, please.
Oh, man.
Okay, for those of you who actually wanted to hear something about history,
We apologise.
Ross has actually been petitioning us for a little while, and not that we needed much in the manner of persuading, but we may or may not become Romanized.
Salve plebs.
Indeed.
Salve,
Ross,
Grumio.
tell the public what you've kind of subtly coerced us into agreeing to.
Look at what you've done to us.
Well, all I did was I said, "Hey, boys, look."
Oh, you got.
Hang on. Let Ross finish. Ross, you said, "Hey, boys."
Yeah, I said. Okay, let's just. I'm just closing that tab. Okay, right. Let's try that again. Deep breaths. Deep
Long
breaths.
story short, I'm now jerk beat son.
Okay, no. Let's try that story. From
Let's
the start.
rewind. Yeah.
Yeah. So, sorry to answer your question, Goatworn. What happened was effectively all I did was say, "Hey guys, look at this Roman kit. It's really cool. Would you like to give it a try sometime?" And unfortunately for themselves, the Roman kit was so sexy that you boys couldn't say no. And I've managed to convince Guthrum and the Shire Reeve and Just Eastern things so far into looking into some Roman impressions. Goatworn is stubbornly sticking to his Roman LARP at the moment, which does look cool, by the way. I've got to give you credit. Your Roman LARP looks way cooler than any of the LARP I've actually seen online before.
Oh, thank you.
No, seriously, because it looks realistic, and I think it's one of those, like, I know LARP is supposed to be a bit more fantasy-esque, and it has connotations of the whole World of Warcrafty, I cast magic missile kind of shit. But
I describe it as a lot of the stuff they do as well. Like, you know how heroic scale figures look,
Yeah.
padded.
yeah,
They look like that when they should look more like true scale figures do.
Yeah.
Like actually have a human. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Like the
absolutely
kit they're
does,
wearing
yeah.
pads it out in a weird way.
I mean, we can chuck up a picture of my my Roman character who has been featuring in my comics recently, Marcus Maximus the Hormone.
the one that you put up today in the Facebook chat was a really good one. That's a really great picture. Yeah.
It's I've captioned it within the LARP group as Marcus viewing the state of the Dumnoni's political system.
Oof.
Because they've recently, in the only way that a Roman, as a complete outsider would describe it, they don't have a king anymore because Saxons made their hut haunted.
That's how it works.
Yeah. So
Saxons with their haunted huts.
Yeah, it's kind of fun being, because in this system, the Romans are kind of the straight men in that they don't believe in a lot of the magics that these other cultures are throwing around, like the druidic magic, the weird, etc. So a lot of it doesn't work on them, and they're very cynical as a result. So my character would be sitting there, and they're all going, "Oh no, that we're losing power because people are forgetting how to word properly because someone's stealing the word horde," or what? A complete, if you know,
Bollocks.
well, yeah, like to anyone who doesn't know what it is, it makes no sense whatsoever. And my characters are like, "Okay, but where are your roads?" And you know. So yeah, no. So I've already got a fair bit of Roman kit because I wanted to go historically accurate with it, within reason. Like obviously, there's some embellishments for the sake of character,
and taking into account the fact it is a LARP at the end of the day, not
that's
historical reenactment.
LARP is more character over history. So there's details I've added that are to embellish my character rather than to embellish an impression.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. So for example, just to give an example of what I mean, on my Viking kit for reenactments, I've got a Flakstad Mjolnir because it's 10th century, it's Norwegian, it fits my Norwegian kit. On my Roman character for LARP, he's got
a Mjolnir.
No. Yeah, Mjolnir. He's got 2 coins on a thread round his neck because they're part of the first wage he received as a soldier, and he kept those as a memento. Now, there's the difference. One's to embellish a character and be plot related. One's to help present history.
It's still grounded in reality, and I think that's why I like what your LARP kit represents so much. Is that my preferred angle for fantasy, for sci-fi, is a bit more of the grim, dark, and the realistic. So I like watching fantasy. So it's why I love the Lord of the Rings films so much, because the stuff made by Weta Workshop for the armor and the weapons,
the swords look very real. They look functional.
It at least looks believable, if not accurate or realistic or whatever other word you want to use.
The thing is, I think you can say it's magical or whatever, but I think a weapon has to look functional, and that's what Weta did so bloody well for Lord of the Rings. Everything looks like you could use it.
Yeah, compare it to the best example for the opposite side of things is, of course, World of Warcraft, where the pauldrons are so big you literally couldn't even lift your arms. But some people like one style.
I'm sorry.
Sorry. Clearly, I'm just a weak, puny bitch.
Exactly.
But no, on a serious note, I think that's it's down to taste. Some people like the overly dramatic fantasy. Some people like the realistic fantasy. I like the realistic, and that's why I really like the look of the LARP that you do, Goatworn, because it actually looks believable. And I have to round off that comment by saying, and I hate to say this, your LARP Roman kit actually looks better than some reenactment Roman kits I've seen.
A lot of the ones I've seen. Obviously, you would know more about that than me. But...
Well, for one big reason is that you actually look like you belong there.
Yeah. That's one of my big gripes with
out of all the armors in existence, chainmail looks bad over somebody that's too out of shape to be wearing it. Scale looks worse, but Lorica segmentata over somebody that shouldn't be wearing it looks so bad, so unbelievably bad. And you can't get away with it because it's basically just a girdle. It's like a corset. If you're not in the right shape to wear it, it doesn't look good. But yours fits. You've got a rough and ready soldiery look about you. The leather bracers obviously aren't accurate, but it still kind of adds something to the character. You've got the big square shield. It still looks decent.
And I'll tell you about that. Actually, first off, that's really high praise coming for you because I know you keep yourself in shape. So hearing that from yourself is
thank you.
I feel well stroked, shall we say. A point on the shield, because it's the biggest, most eye-catching part about my kits when it's all together. I did base that on a reconstruction of the 2nd century Legio 6 Victrix shields that they found. Or either they found or they had a depiction of it from the period. So I absolutely had to have that as a reconstruction. So, because when I took that to the lot, they were like, "Jesus, have you got enough shields? It's absolutely enormous." I said, "Yeah, it looks big, but this is accurate. Like, this is scaled to what we found in the ground, basically."
A lot of the original Viking shields are much bigger than you see. Well, even the standard like 32-inch shields that a lot of us use. There are finds bigger. There are finds like 36 plus.
Absolutely.
You should see Bolt-off shield. It's like a coffee table.
Oh, I know a couple of people in Regia, actually father and son, that are known for having fucking huge shields. And they work. They work.
Yeah. Well, one of my mates in Magister Militum, Matthew, his main shield that he used when we were doing fighting displays in our old group is enormous. Now he's the smallest of the three of us in terms of height and stuff, and his shield is pretty big on him. But as a result, it's just impossible to get round when you're trying to fight. And because he's worked out even more now, but he's certainly not out of shape, and he does a physically active job. So he's pretty fit, he's pretty strong, and he doesn't get tired by it. And that's the thing about big shields, is usually they tire you out, but he doesn't get tired out by this thing. And so trying to get past it to actually hit him is impossible.
Center bar,
no, it is center gripped. I mean, all Roman shields have got the center grip rather than an arm.
Yeah.
So it was a late oval. Before we realised that all of the shields were lenticular, it was a big flat oval. And I wouldn't be too remiss saying it was about the same size of a barn door. Yeah, the green one with the white dragons on it. Yeah. No, I was actually just going to say though that Goatworn, the reason I like the shield so much is because it's 6th Legion Victrix, which is my local legion. They were stationed in York.
Yeah, that's right. Ebicorum is, am I right in saying, would be the
Eboracum.
Eboracum. Okay, so right spelling, wrong pronunciation. Which is...
it's. I'll be honest with you. Because when I went to Italy last week, the other half can speak Latin, and I started trying some Latin pronunciations because she's teaching me a bit more Latin, and I found out that the way that we're taught Latin pronunciation in England is totally different from the way they learn it in Italy. And she says that she's done some looking into it, and apparently, I did know already we weren't 100% sure how Latin is pronounced, but she says because there's no idea how Latin is pronounced, the best thing to do is just pronounce it in your native accent, and don't try and embellish it or add anything to it. Yeah. There are certain things we know, like Caesar, for example, had a hard C, so it was more like Caesar or Kaiser. But there are very few that we're confident on like that. So anything else, like even
Kaiser.
Even pronouncing the V as a W, they don't do that over there. They're taught to pronounce it as a V. Yeah.
Is that a modern Italian thing, though? Is that, can we trace that to being Latin?
Potentially.
Because obviously the Romantic languages are completely alien to us, I guess. But I've always wondered that myself too.
I have to confess, just Easton, that my Latin skills extend to military terminology because I only passed my A-level Latin because 50% of the exam was history and 50% of it was language, and I scored exactly 50%. I'll let you guess how.
Good lad.
Anyway, sorry, that was a derail in me stroking Goatworn's ego over his LARP kit there.
Don't think he minded.
There's one of the items, again, for embellishing the character more than anything else. I found a chap who's actually on a lot of reenactment trade and sale pages. I hope he doesn't mind me plugging him, actually. Nicholas Gearing. He reconstructs or does recreations of Roman-era letters, like military letters, correspondence between individuals, etc., all in fully translated Latin on papyrus.
Quite rare.
So I asked him if he takes commission, He said, okay, depends what it is. So I now have a, in air quotes, letter from Hadrian that I have as part of my character. What it actually is 3 songs by Black Sabbath written out in Latin. I think it's Paranoid, Planet Caravan, and War Pigs.
Right.
It's one of their best hits.
Choice.
Yeah.
If you do want any more stuff written on papyrus, by the way, in Latin, I obviously I can't translate off the top of my head, but I've got books and dictionaries, and now I've got somebody who can help me extensively.
That's kind of what I'm doing with. Sorry.
I was going to say the one thing I can do is that I've got extensive sources on Roman handwriting, and I have a shit ton of papyrus because my main living history display is organizational writing documents, so military documentation, because we've got loads of sources for military dispensations, commissions, letters home and to the soldiers, stuff like that. So I started writing a few of those. So if you want any more Latin writing, just give me a shout.
Yeah.
It's only £5,000 a line.
I was going to say that's basically the same thing I do for translating Old English, because I'm not good enough at it to translate off the cuff, but I can translate roughly, and then I know people who are better versed in it than me who can proofread, for example.
Yeah, like check it just to make sure it's okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I do need Latinized. Once again, Jupiter rams cock at the fucking arse. Is that at all possible?
That will be entirely possible,
man.
because
Excellent.
there was a Google Translate that somebody put up on Facebook recently. By the way, if anybody's listening and wants to use Google Translate to make Latin, don't do it, because it does not handle how Latin works at all. But he put up a phrase on it, and I sent it to the other half, and I said, "Is that correct? Because that doesn't look right to me at all." And she says, "No. What he's actually saying there is, I want to fuck you in the ass." So
maybe that is correct.
So that
Yeah, that'd be a sick insult for your
Plot twist. It wasn't you asking if it was right. You were proper. Is this how you got the girl in Italy?
Wow. Okay.
So
yeah, as chat up lines go, I want to fuck you in the ass in Latin is not really yeah. It's not up there.
Straight to the
it's like it's slightly off topic. I don't know if you guys remember those old kind of memes from back in early 2000s where people would be like, I can speak another language. They go, say something to me, and it would always be something ridiculous, like ordering chow mein.
The other one is a lot of the Chinese shirts that people wear with just random Chinese and Japanese text have a lot of insults and stuff on them. It's either insults or it's nonsense.
Yeah, the classic one being the tattoo, where it's like, I got the Chinese tattoo, which it just means peace and love and serenity and all that, and a Chinese person looks at it and goes, "No, mate, that's picnic table."
Yeah, it's literally egg fried rice.
Yeah. Number 42.
With regards to Latin and translating over, do you in Roman reenactment, out of curiosity, and sorry to kind of budge in here, guys, but I'm curious, as we see it in our side quite a lot, do you get to see people going out and over with Latin but just making completely wrong shit up? We see it all the time with people going Viking and using Elder Futhark as an example. Yeah. But they just pop something into, Elder Futhark to English, and it makes no fucking sense.
They've watched Vikings once and think that, saying skull all the time makes them a Viking.
Yeah. I'm curious, is that a thing? Or is it because Roman's still quite niche, I guess?
Well, maybe. I mean, do you mean if you're in the arena and somebody's barking out orders, do they start using Pidgin Latin, or do you mean if they're doing a particular living history thing? Sorry.
I mean, in general, so do you see people on? I guess Facebook's a great example of it, posting any of these Roman reenactment reenacting shit. With regards to fake Latin and stuff.
Yeah, the classic ones are if people want to wish somebody a happy birthday, or anything like that. Loads of Roman reenactors like to say happy birthday to each other in Latin and get it quite wrong, and it's clear that they've used Google Translate. The best ones though are if somebody's doing drill in the arena and they've got a different interpretation of how a maneuver works, which is fine because the drill manuals are not very clear. Interpret as much as you want, but because the command that they're issuing needs to be modified as a result, they clearly can't speak Latin, and there's nothing wrong with that. But instead of going to an expert who can, they have instead just gone to Google Translate or bought a Latin dictionary and made up how the grammar works. And they will shout out a command that if you said it to a real Roman, he would look at you in just pure confusion because it's absolute nonsense. Yeah. Usually we don't see it, I'll admit, because it's very clear what the terminology for kit is. It's very clear what the terminology for most of the army commands are. And most of the reenactors I've seen don't go and chat in forums in Latin. They'll just speak in English. The only one you really see is, like I say, if you're just saying like happy birthday or something silly and friendly like that.
Is there any of that general nonsense though? Maybe at events then. So Shire Reeve mentioned that a minute ago, which is the whole like skull crap. Do you get the whole fist pump up Rome season
Salve
1?
Grumio.
Ave Kaiser.
Ave true to Kaiser.
There are a few phrases. There are a few phrases here and there which you think is it something they said, or if you just copied HBO's Rome, which is phenomenal. Yeah. It's a fucking phenomenal TV.
Yeah, great TV show. Yeah.
If you have the opportunity to watch it at any point, please go watch it. But there are one or two things that you look at and think you've just copied a film there for that one. The classic one is if you see Romans parading on a big town Roman festival, parading through the streets. Some of them have entirely accurate marching chants in Latin, and they're great to listen to. They're in cadence, so they suit the theme. And then some of them shout Google translated or video game / movie bollocks, and it's just cringeworthy if you know what you're listening to. But the problem is Latin sounds quite cool when there's a bunch of soldiers shouting it, so the audience thinks it sounds awesome.
My favourite Latin song is actually Ameno.
Yeah.
The best thing
I'm
about
curious.
It is it's not Latin at all. It's fucking. It just sounds like it.
Yeah, I think I know the one you're on about. I've seen some memes of it, obviously. With the Latin in events and stuff, then one thing, and I really would like you guys is, and this is Goatworn, Guthrum, and Shire Reeve, like if it happens in your groups or anything. One thing I know that Red Wing and Eastern Thing's pushing for at the moment, and we didn't do it with Volin last year because none of us actually got the memo, as jokingly as that sounds, but we're trying to push for all of our commands to be in Icelandic. So a uniform thing, and that's the cross culture, because obviously with us being a multilingual kind of coalition, and I suppose the Roman stuff is quite like that outside the UK as well.
Yep.
Is the idea of Latin is going to unify you, so you kind of all recognise regardless of where you are. I know like English is pretty much like recognised anyway, but sometimes it does sound pretty cool when you've all got like a uniform thing going on,
English commands in multi-group events would only work if the participants all spoke good enough English to understand military terminology. So if you bellow out left wheel, right wheel, about face in English, and they don't understand English well enough or don't understand military terminology well enough, then they're going to struggle.
I was going to say, I think a lot
if
of
everybody's reading off the Latin
drill wouldn't understand those necessarily.
Having seen the Vike try to train formation, I can attest to people do not understand what the fuck drilling is.
So,
sorry.
As you saw in a comic of mine, we actually we'll do Skjalborg as it's the Old Norse for it. But the other ones, well. We haven't quite gotten to the stage of doing the rest in Old Norse, so it'll still be wheel on the right, about face, etc. My old group did have more commands, which I'll have to dig out and send to you guys, see what you think, because I don't know how well they translated.
So Regia do commands in both Anglo-Saxon and Old Norse. Old English and Old Norse.
Is it common though? Like if you were military school when I was younger. Okay, I can't get my words out. When I was in military school when I was younger, we had a staff sergeant who was an absolute arsehole and used to love calling.
That's the job of a staff.
Oh no, I'm not dodging him. Yeah, it made it what it was. But he loved calling people tubes. Listen here, you fucking tube. And it was just an absolute constant barrage of being called tubes, monster.
I'll tell you what though, the strength from my experience and from my dad's experience and from some other family friends as well. The real strength of a good drill sergeant is creative insults. And tubes is so funny.
Because you're nothing but a muff and an arsehole. A tube.
The last time I went to a fitness test, there were all of us in the gym, doing the push-ups test, and I heard the drill sergeant bellowing from across the room, "Pick those hips up! You're not fucking the floor in my gymnasium."
Yeah, that sounds like a staff sergeant fucking you over a wee bit.
But of course, the greatest example of staff sergeantry ever is the scene from Full Metal Jacket where Gunnery Sergeant Hartman comes in and bellows the fuck out of everybody. For those of you who aren't aware, that entire scene was improv because the guy who played him, Gideon Emery, was in fact a actual gunnery sergeant in the US Marine Corps.
Yeah,
and he was brought on as technical advisor to make sure that the guy playing the drill sergeant did his job properly. And the director was so impressed with his advisory that he said, "Well, why don't you just play the character?" So everything in that famous scene is improv. He's just been let loose on a bunch of guys and doing his thing, and it's phenomenal to watch.
Did you, on the subject of gunnery sergeants in military discipline, have any of you, open question to everybody, ever watched Bad Lads Army?
Yeah.
Oh, actually, yes. One of my old boss's friends was in it.
Oh God, what did you say, Ree? Did you ever watch it?
Is that the one where they're all like sent to do period British Army
Yes.
stuff? Yeah.
And you mentioned like staff sergeants and colourful stuff. I was sitting in the bathroom earlier, as you do with your mobile phone, and some Bad Lads Army stuff come up, and I forgot just how absolutely brutal those guys were. Running about, slapping people with sausages, calling them sausages, threatening to call them and do stuff with sausages. So it's definitely worth watching.
You might remember actually, just Easton, if you watch that. One of the guys in there, I think it was Murray. I think he was Corporal Murray.
Mm-hmm.
He's a friend of my ex boss when I worked at the bar. My boss Dave was ex army, and so he had a lot of army mates. And Murray came in for a drink, and he is the nicest guy you will ever speak to in your life. He's so polite, so pleasant, and yet on the show he was absolutely brutal.
Well, that's what makes a good kind of trainer, I guess.
Well,
in my view, anyway.
The reason they're doing it isn't out of actual spite; it's out of directed reason. If that makes sense.
Well, absolutely.
So
the entire point of an army drill sergeant is to break you. Because if you can't handle him shouting at you in the barracks, then you can't handle being shot at. End of.
Yeah.
So we've had a lot of questions for you, Ross, ranging from extremely inappropriately personal to ones about Romans.
Have you asked your group in a private chat again?
Maybe. No, I've actually because, like I said last time, with the last time I did this, that I wanted Q&As to be a more regular feature. Decided to make this one of those such episodes.
Apart from our 40-minute tangent.
Apart from our 40-minute tangent, but
Good tangent though.
But we're like
good.
what 14 episodes in. People know what they're in.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've got questions from the masses. So I'm just going to read them out and let you guys answer, and let's see how it goes. So we got one from Conrad, the world's most mediocre Icelander, who featured on here a few weeks ago. He says, "So, how do you feel about those Viking kite shields?"
Not a problem with them.
Clearly referencing the Assassin's Creed trailer, I think.
Oh, okay. I thought that was on the Saxons, but either way, If it's still about the Assassin's Creed thing, then get fucked. If it's in terms of actual Vikings, if it's the mid to late 11th century, I have zero problems with that.
Out of curiosity, I've used one and I found it incredibly effective, but also ridiculous. Were they actually a thing with the Saxons?
Saxons
by the Battle of Hastings?
Yes.
Would you have seen them in the Saxon line there?
I would expect to see the majority of them at the Battle of Hastings and at the Battle of Stamford Bridge on both sides.
That's good. That's good to hear, because I actually, when I did Hastings, I was using some loan kit, and I was given a kite shield. And at the time, I was of the impression that they were Normans only, not for Saxons and Vikings.
My first Hastings
misconception. Huge misconception.
It is something that Hastings kind of contributes to as an event, is that to distinguish for the benefit of the audience who's who.
I don't think that's necessarily its fault.
The reason is twofold. Firstly, it's to distinguish for the public who's who. So the Anglo-Saxons have the round shields, generally speaking, and the Normans have kite shields, generally speaking, even though both sides would have probably had both shields, depending on which status of fighter was participating.
Yeah.
I looked at the... Sorry, actually, I'll catch up afterwards with it.
No worries. The secondary reason is the event is populated by people reenacting periods that aren't actually the periods they're fighting.
Yeah, much earlier, which is why you have loads of round shields.
Yeah, the Anglo-Saxon side is made up of 10th century Vikings, so everyone has round shields. The Norman side is made up of like 13th to 14th century Normans,
not
so
late,
they
not
will
late.
naturally have
12th to 13th.
12th to 13th.
Yeah,
that's right. 12th to 13th, so they're a bit later than Hastings. So that's also contributing.
It's one of those events where they just need to fill up the numbers, though, isn't it?
Quite
So they don't really care as much.
And to be honest, I don't think it looks bad. I think it could look a lot worse. I just think there is a massive misconception on the distribution of kite shields in the Anglo-Saxon and Viking army in that period. I think you would have seen a lot more.
The issue I've always seen with, I'm not going to name specific groups or whatever, but a lot of the guys, at least on the sites I have taken in and been a part of, they don't tend to care. They just want to get there to fight in the battle and get off, rather than actually want to be a little bit later. Have a little of like that. I know we've joked about it before.
Can you blame them? I mean,
who only does one event a year? Saying that, though, I'd kill for one event this year. I didn't realise. I know Harold on the tapestry. Harold has a kite shield, but personally, I've never looked into it. I always thought that kite shields might have been a slightly more, at least in the Saxon side, rather than the kind of Norman side, a higher, not high status, but middle.
They started off in Constantinople and spread upwards. So that's why you see the Normans adopting them first, and then you get the Anglo-Saxons and the Norwegians, and then the Norwegians by 1066 were using them as much as the Anglo-Saxons were.
Oh, interesting. No, the more I know, I guess.
Cool.
Yeah. I would expect it to be in a way. I don't know actually. I don't know if it would be necessarily a status thing. It might be that it depends on whether you wanted a round or a kite, but from the stuff I've seen, most of them would have been kites.
With or without a shield boss, though? With or, because I know you see both.
You see both.
Okay.
Regia takes the stance, and this is purely for uniformity. They say you must have a kite boss on a round-topped kite. That is literally just for the whole taking one side of the road thing. Although we don't enforce it on flat top kites.
It's an interesting thing with the kite versus round choice, because normally I would have assumed I would prefer the round. Given my experience with ancient period shields, I've always found the the arm grip that you get, which was on the kite shield that I was using
Yeah.
at Hastings.
The
I
pivots.
found that a bit more
Yeah.
unwieldy, apart from some very certain circumstances. So obviously the Greeks use them, and I love the big Greek aspis, but only if you're in a big block of guys shoving spears forward in a nice uniform fashion. Other than that, I always prefer the hand grip.
I think you've kind of actually you just hit the nail on the head there, Ross, as to why one was used and one wasn't, and which circumstances they would be. As you say, the Norman kite shields, the kite shield is slightly more unwieldy than the round, but in mass battle, where you're not going to be doing entirely too much moving around, you are going to be static in a block with spear support. It's ideal because it hides most of you with the minimal effort.
And it hides the legs as well, the foreleg, which is a massive advantage. It's of course not as wide, so it doesn't cover as much of your body. But if you're standing near side on anyway, it's not a problem, and it's one of those trade-off things.
But in a smaller, because an army in the kind of 9th, 10th century was considered, what was considered to be an army was about 30 people. When you're kind of in a skirmish of 30 to 40 people, a round shield is so much better because you're not going to be tightly packed in a situation where that static body cover will be enough. You need to be more mobile, and that's where the round shield comes into its own. But yeah, no. So the question we have from Casper Sangil, which is so this is directed at you, Just Eastern. Oh no, sorry.
Okay.
It's it kind of is and it isn't. We know Just Eastern goes to Volin, but do any of the rest of you go to international events?
No.
Well, potentially. Me and Goatworn are looking at maybe going to Norway in just under a month for an event in Norway that Conrad has invited us all to, but we're the only two that could go. We don't know if we 100% going to go yet, but
keep me in the loop for that. I know exactly what you're on about. You messaged me as well.
Yeah. I mean, if you're up for coming, I can probably fit 3 in the car.
Yeah.
It's a great
That'd be sick.
It's a great offer that he's presented us, but it is unfortunately a bit last minute, and I've not had the time to save for it. So it's going to be one of those.
Yeah,
I might be able to do it, but then I'm living on beans for the rest of the year.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And the boys at 9 a.m. looking for beans.
Can someone meme that and just post it out randomly before the podcast goes out? That'll be a good one. I've been to one international event. I've been invited to about 17. Being part of Red Wing has opened up the avenue that I could fly to Spain and I could go and join their training. I could go to any of their events. I don't even need an invite. I just need to let them know I'm coming. The intention this year and the intention every year with Red Wing UK is to attend 2 international events. Unfortunately, that's not happened. But going international is cool because you get to learn other cultures.
Yeah. So all my reenactments have been in the UK. Since I think kind of the last year and this, I've received multiple invites from various fans page to kind of come and do a training weekend or whatever with them. It's always funny because they always phrase it the same way of, if you ever happen to be passing X location, drop in, which normally is kind of is a sensible offer. But when it's like, oh yeah, if you happen to be passing this location, this town in the Ukraine,
as you do.
Yes,
if you're ever out in Siberia, mate, fucking pop in. I got some tea on
exactly.
for you.
I don't know how mobile they think I am, but I mean the offers are well appreciated. And aside from the offer from Conrad, my group are actually looking to do one in Sweden.
Nice.
But that's still very much in the planning.
That would presumably be a plane jobby.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Unless you can get a ferry from the same point of Denmark that goes to Norway.
Yeah, like I say,
Flying is possible if you're worried about that. A lot of the guys who do, and this is one that I'm looking to attend at some point soon, is the either the marathon or Thermopylae redos, and a lot of the guys fly there. And as long as they do proper declarations, they've got no problem with kit on planes. The only risk is obviously the baggage handle guys.
We had some guys from Brazil fly to Poland, and I think they flew to like the US or something. I don't know. They said they had a couple of stop-offs, and these guys flew to like Volin, basically, Szczecin, and then took the bus, and they were dressed in full kit. It was sitting on a plane with chainmail.
One of the events I was invited to, which sadly I couldn't attend because of just budget, time, work, etc. Because it was in association with a museum, they actually gave out over email passes that it specifically then says I'm doing a reenactment reconstruction event for this museum under their name. If there's any issues at border control, please call us to confirm this so that you can let this person through with sharp swords and armor and shit.
That's sensible.
So moving down the list, so off the channel, I'm going to leave James Smith's one out because it's one we've done so many times before, really. And it's just ragging.
I think the next one down, Jake Alexander, is probably the next kind of relevant one down, isn't it?
Oh yeah, I'm just going to go swiftly.
We have to
through
answer
the next
Eli's.
two.
We have to answer Eli's.
Yeah.
So one from Eli Hackford: lamb, beef, pork, or chicken.
Pork.
Guthrum, what's your choice?
Lamb.
Lamb?
I quite like lamb.
Just
Probably a good beef brisket.
Okay, good choice. Actually, I suppose, what kind of animal is haggis? Is that
The wild, mate. Those are wild haggises.
Yeah,
They're over the bones
they're
and
cute and
everything.
adorable.
They're over the bones and stuff.
Sheep
You're fine.
offal wrapped in intestine.
And it's fucking delicious. You bunch of racists.
Haggis I've tried.
I never
fucking
said
roadkill.
anything negative about
Oh, I've
it.
tried shit.
Oh, I fucking love haggis.
Yeah, haggis is great. Mr. York, as he appears on the Discord.
For context of that, it's not because I'm from York. My first one of my favorite one of my favorite roleplay characters I ever played was called Mr. York, and that name was rolled randomly on a name generator. But
It's no
I would have
jerk beat son, though, is it?
It's no jerk beats. No, that's true. Sorry. To answer the question, if it's cooked by my mum, lamb. If it's cooked by anybody else, chicken.
Fair enough. And Shire Reeve.
A good, juicy pork belly with a nicely done bit of crackling.
Oh,
Absolutely killer.
So for me, it's a spread of all of them, but I like lamb done with rosemary and garlic in a slow cooker. Beef, preferably steak. Steak is my go-to with beef. Pork, belly pork like Shire Reeve. That's just, and a good bit of crackling. You just cannot beat that.
Applesauce, stuffing.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
chicken, southern fried is my favorite way to.
Sorry,
Nice.
go one. Sorry to interrupt. Can we ask Eli a counter question here? Where the fuck is the turkey on the options?
None of us are American, so it's a moot point.
Christmas.
Whoa, hang on. That's my second favorite sandwich there, man.
Well, it's not your first, and he was asking your favourite, so shush.
Well, my first is tuna, so.
Well, there we go. Hey, tuna's great.
Tuna, no, genuinely,
I do
tuna
not-
activates my gag reflex. So don't bring it near me.
I do not like tuna.
Even the
Well,
smell of
see-
tuna is just.
See, Ross has been getting used to the taste of tuna, and that's why he's popular with the ladies.
Oh no!
Oh man!
And we're demonetized.
That one might actually have to be
Bold of
edited
you
out.
to
that one. I'm saying that now, Alex. When you listen back in the edit, that one is not going in. Okay.
Yes, it is.
No, it fucking isn't.
Okay. Yes, it is.
Okay, so next question from Jake Alexander Airy. how should beginners to the hobby go about conducting research into kit? Now, we did do a little episode on this one, and we can we'll just post up here which number it is because I can't remember offhand. But
Big
there's
ones,
some tips
period,
there.
location, and culture are the massive ones.
Yeah,
I would say the first thing to do surely is depending on which group you're in, ask somebody like your authenticity officer first as well to give you a hand.
Yeah. Oh,
So I joined Buffer and I asked my authenticity officer, and they said this is right.
I think it's
Okay,
it's an
all right,
important
fair
point,
enough,
though.
fair point.
No, it's an important point because you have to consider safety regulations and the individual regulations of your group.
Yeah.
You don't want to step on toes, etc. But generally, yeah, if you want to start an impression, period, culture and area, and then go from there. Look into finds. For example, my impression for late Roman that I'm going with is 5th century Germanic from Carmarthen. And then I'm supplementing that with other Bavarian and
That's Carmarthen, Germany, not Carmarthen, Wales, by the way.
yes.
So
Yes,
I would
that is Germany. Yeah, that'd
I'd
be why I
say
said Germanic and not Welsh.
There were
The best
Germans all over the empire.
the best thing to
Oh,
do
dear.
is to research first of all the timeline that you are reenacting to give you context, because that gives you a real insight into the reasonings for kit choices later on.
Yeah.
And
I'd also recommend if you want to go for a broad period. So let's say you want to do 2 centuries in the Viking Age, which is roughly doable. It's obviously, if you're being really anal about it, not really, but if you know, it can be done. Stick either on the end or the beginning. Well, it'll be both of a century. So, like, for example, my impression is early 11th century, but it could be anywhere from the 980s to like the 1030s, and stretch as far as the early 10th century and mid to late 11th. If I really want to stretch the time period for that.
It's a really good bit of advice, to be honest with you, because we tend to see with late Romans particularly, because the evidence is quite all over the place. A lot of people tend to have bits and bobs from almost a century earlier, which in some cases is acceptable because, again, the evidence and the finds are really, really sparse in a lot of situations. But the best impressions tend to be nailed down to like a 50-year gap.
Sorry, my partner just decided to do that. No worries.
Beat her. No, don't beat her. Sorry, it's nail it down to about 50 years or so is usually the best advice we tend to give from our era.
Yeah, for Roman and for a lot of periods that seems reasonable. I mean,
I'll admit that's based on the
on
service
the evidence
period rule.
you guys have as well.
Yeah, and we've got a rule about service periods because obviously we know that a Roman soldier served for maximum 25 years, depending on whenabouts in the Roman army you're talking. But if you take 25 years, a helmet that we found has had 3 names scratched into it. So we think that the maximum you can say that a particular item of kit was used and then handed down and then down and then down again was about 75 to 80-ish years. Yeah.
Not that's really interesting, but
That's so
that is
fascinating that was possible.
specific regarding beginning.
Yeah, I think
kit.
beginning. I would say if you're doing Viking Age 2 centuries, stuck on the end or the beginning of the actual century. If you're being really if you're narrowing it down. For a lot of other periods, speak to your group, have a chat about what period range is reasonable, what their regulations are, so on.
Next question from Dan Clark. Why is your theme tune so damn funky? Well,
because you're so damn funky, Dan.
Yeah, you know damn well the answer to that, Dan, because you recorded it. So for those who were questioning where the rather excellent slappy tune Salty came from, that featured on the animation I put on YouTube, and patrons have been able to download. Dan Clark, you can thank for it, because out of nowhere, out of just the pure generosity of his heart, decided to make a theme tune for Goatworn Armband. So yeah, the reason it's so damn funky is because he's so damn talented. Glenn Donaldson asks, would you consider chilling with us for a relaxed reenactment weekend of camping and food with some 14th century folk in Scotland after this whole unfortunate apocalypse is over?
Mercenaries.
That just ended up muffled.
Why do we have a trombone here?
Tom, you were so loud that your voice just went.
It was
Irregular Norwegian mercenaries.
Yes.
I
What that translates as, Glenn, is fuck yes, we will be down for that. We will happily travel up and hang out with you guys.
Hell yeah.
It's a reason to go back to the homeland.
Yeah, if you can put up with, what you listen to for an hour each week, and you're happy to have us still, we're happy to come up. Hut Zoo, this is my favorite visitor from China.
Cooking,
Why people put beans on toast? Why is that a thing?
Me
healthy.
and the boys at 3 a.m. looking for beans.
Beans. Well, basically,
Because it is delicious and nutritious.
yeah. After we conquered half the world for spices, we decided we didn't like any of them, and now we.
Brexit means Brexit.
Yeah, Brexit means
Fucking
Brexit.
hell.
Heinz only.
I'll tell you what, beans on toast is not only quick and easy, but it actually is shockingly nutritious as well. Beans are
That's
good
what I'm
for you.
saying. That's what I'm saying. Delicious and nutritious. It is
And also
easy. and
Really
it's
easy
good
to
for
clean
you.
up.
Exactly. Like, I use a plate and a pot.
Alexander Eels asks, what other period of reenactment would you do if you were not doing Viking/Anglo-Saxons? Well, clearly we're all interested in Romans, as we described earlier. But any advances on
I also do 13th century Norman and 15th century German Wars of the Roses.
Guthrum, what would be your
Ooh,
first?
probably 7th century Anglo-Saxon.
Okay, so you'd still stick with kind of the rough period then.
Yeah. I think the very limits of my interest in history can be pretty much said to be 4th century up to 11th. So anything between that, I'm Gucci.
Fair enough. Just Eastern, what about you?
Well, we're going Roman, but I'm going to be a senator, unlike you peasants. If there was more of a peak British Empire thing, I would kind of like to be in that, simply because I want one of those ridiculous colonial hats that make me look like Dark Helmet.
The fucking shakos. Oh wait, or do you mean
Cyclone
the
or a
pith
shako?
helmets?
Or a
What?
helmet.
Biff helmet, I'll tell you that one. Biff helmet.
I was thinking of the shakos.
Pith helmet think Zulu, Shako think Sharp, and a tricorn think Pirates of the Caribbean.
Well, I would love a tricorn for one, but yeah, no, Piff helmet, definitely Piff helmet.
Alternatively, has anyone seen the Turn Washington Spies?
Yeah.
You know the helmets the hats the Rangers have with like the semicircular bit and then the feathers on the back. Those are pretty sick.
So Ross, obviously, Just Eastern Things wants to be a Roman senator. Did the Romans have high chairs?
I will need a higher chair because even a senator can stab you in the back.
It took you nearly an hour, but you got there.
You could justify one of those curls, you know,
So same question, Ross. Aside from Roman, if you didn't want to do Roman, and I guess obviously Viking or Anglo-Saxon, what period would you do?
Well, if I didn't want to do Viking or Anglo-Saxon as well, because I have been looking quite closely at the 6th century Saxon-y, Viking-y, Danish. My knowledge is terrible. Helmets, the sort of stuff that Wolfie Hodeness wears. They are
Svea, those ones were.
Those ones. They are the
Swedish.
absolute sex. But if they're not allowed, I mean, my honest answer has to be Greek. I really want to do a really good impression of either don't cringe at this, a Spartan hoplite, or one of Alexander's pikemen. Because the Greeks have some sexy kit. My favorite helmet of all time is the Greek Corinthian helmet, and I want a really, really nice, properly made, custom bronze Corinthian helmet. And some of the
wear
Spartan,
the one that looks like a big penis head.
They all do technically.
But like a big fat one. You know the one I mean with the small eye holes.
I do, but that's a little bit out of the period I've got in question. But some of the Spartan ones with horizontal the transverse crests have horsehair crests going all the way down to their ankles, because the longer your crest, the bigger your money penis, basically. And they just look phenomenal. But bronze helmet, bronze Corinthian helmet, bronze cuirass, bronze greaves. Oh, it would just look so good. Sorry, ancient period kit is just so sexy.
Yeah, fair one. For me, I don't know if I've mentioned it before. I think I would have to go for Landsknecht, just for that combo.
I am planning a Landsknecht impression years down the line, but I that is one of the ones I would like to do.
It's my turn now. Shush.
What you can't hear is Shire Eve quietly crying in the corner. Oh, there he is.
Yeah. Landsknecht, and yeah, the combination of that absolutely dandy outfit and the world's most impractically large sword. But I do think we should have the League through the ages. So us as
Maximilian
Roman, through Viking, through the medieval, all the way to like Warhammer Space Marines.
Laughs in.
Can you imagine me as Mastati?
Sword.
I'm literally slowly morphing into actual RIL Russ.
If you're listening, Gambargan, yeah.
Except Russ was 20 feet tall.
But the others were taller, so it's fine.
Russ was not the shortest Primarch.
Shut up!
Quite a long way.
Stop spoiling it. Kick him!
Alfarius.
Kick him!
Alfarius, that was right.
Alfarius was slightly bigger than a normal Astartes. So
right.
with the fucking new terrible shitty Primaris Marines that they brought out, Alfarius is probably just a fucking Primaris Marine now. Sorry, 40k rants over.
So next question, 2 from Nick Ray. Hang on, there were better questions than that. Where are the other ones he had? Give me a second.
Your second's up.
No, shut up.
Beans.
Beans.
Me and the boys at 2 a.m. looking for beans.
That was it. Okay.
Beans.
Okay, so I'm gonna rewind. Nick Ray asks, at what point does the interest in animal husbandry become a problem? Asking for a friend.
Now,
when you are the animal husband.
Call the cavalry donkey wallopers for a good reason.
It's when you have a secret folder that you've named something else, like homework, that's actually full of animal husbandry videos. That's when you have the problem.
Yeah.
Even
Just because it's legal to look at horses shagging doesn't mean you should.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
like yeah, it's like wanking on an airplane. It's not illegal per se, but it's not encouraged either.
Yeah, this went from 0 to 100 very quickly.
Wait, hang on. You guys don't wank on airplanes?
I'm wanking right now.
I've never had one in my life.
Someone had to go for
I'm
that.
a good boy. Never had a wank in my life.
For legal reasons, that's a joke. So,
What's a wank?
Even Wellen and Geraint Thomas, ask very similar questions. That our favourite or most memorable member of public interaction or questions at a show or an event. Mine, I made a comic out of, which was the doing the rounds with our Anglo-Saxon hostage, wanting to ransom them, and we were met by two ladies well into their
Oh,
cups
no.
at the end of the day, who asked us, firstly, whether we were the Vikings, and secondly, whether we would be happy to skip the pillaging and get straight to the other part. Yeah. Suffice to say, didn't really have a response to that one.
The stealing of gold, yes.
Yeah, something like that. We made a very swift retreat from that particular stall.
Oh,
But
my.
Guthrum, what's yours?
Out of curiosity, what event was that?
Oh, that was a little event, Lidford. We did a small scale reenactment of the raid at Lidford.
Okay.
They've got a silver mint there in the Anglo-Saxon period. And
So you're jotting that down for reasons, are you? Just decent things.
Yes.
Research purposes.
Yes.
For science.
besides,
Yeah.
Guthrum, what's your
Yes. Oh, there's two that really stick out in my mind. One I think I'm fairly sure I've mentioned before, which was where a member of the public came up and asked if my slightly off Yamunbu helmet replica was a real helmet, and I asked for clarification, and yes, they did indeed mean 1,000-year-old helmet. I was just like, no. And the other one that really sticks in my mind, just for being so batshit insane, was a lady went to our leather worker because she was after a set of awls, and these awls I'd produced they were modern blades I just stuck new handles on, and she asked if I could do the same. I'm like, yeah, sure, give me your email address, I'll be in touch. And we got talking, totally out of character, totally out of period, and that we got talking, and she was absolutely fucking insane, proper tinfoil hat wearing weirdy, and I swiftly lost her email address.
I was about to sing Guthrum and Weirdo sit in a tree, but it doesn't seem to have gone that way.
No, absolutely not. I mentioned I was a welder by trade, and
That sounds quite similar to my story then.
Yeah, I mentioned I was a welder by trade, and that they brought in a load of new legislation regarding face masks having a supply of air. And she says, "Oh, it's just bollocks. The government are bringing it in to kill off small companies." I'm like, "No, it's been linked to kidney failure." So yeah,
I wish to live, thank you.
yes,
It's the
yes,
reptilians controlling you.
exactly. I quite
They live
like
under
being
the
alive.
earth, and they kill you with their microwave 5G radiation.
I don't want to hail 3 kilograms of metal dust a day. Anyways, yes,
yeah.
I'm finished.
Just Easton, have you had an interaction with the public?
No.
Fair enough. All right.
He's in
Moving
character as a Roman senator, sipping wine and shouting at people.
No, genuinely haven't had a time where I can say that I've had a good experience, like with a pub. I never really go out my way for that crap.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah,
fair
that's
enough.
fair.
Ross, what about you?
A bit like Guthrum, I've got two quick ones. One is that I think Shire Reeve commented on in another group chat where I didn't realise that he'd put it up until far too late, but at one of our first events, I think it was our second ever event as Magister Militum, 3 years ago now, Lindy Beige, of all people, was walking around and took a video of me, and I the answers that I gave to his questions now, I facepalm at because I was panicking and didn't really know as much as I do now, and my kit has improved absolute bounds since that video came out. But it was still cool because obviously we've all seen Lindy Beige videos before. It was nice to actually meet the guy and meet the man behind the videos that we've all watched. The second was, and it might be cheating to count this as interaction with a member of the public, but we had myself and two other friends from, well, the other two members of Magister Militum had a friend in our old group who very sadly, 3 years ago now, passed away. And for his funeral, he wanted everybody to turn up in the kit that we knew him from. So obviously we turned up as reenactors, and we went along and saw some Vikings there. But there were also people in the room who were dressed as steampunk guys. There were bikers in their full leather kit. There were some wargaming guys with their shirts on. And his two sons, who didn't do any of this sort of stuff, he told them forcibly that you have to turn up dressed as steampunk. And they thought they were going to look stupid. They thought the whole thing was going to be daft, but it was amazing just sitting in the room and listening to the speeches being made. As a Roman sitting next to a Viking, sitting behind a biker, sitting in front of a wargaming guy, and then going to the pub after and raising a pint. It was genuinely the most lovely experience I've ever had outside of a proper formal reenactment event with people who aren't reenactors. So just raising a glass now to Andy Dove, wonderful man, great reenactor, and gave me a lot of enjoyable experiences over the years as a good friend.
Oh, nice.
I'm upset he never mentioned the time that I met him.
Yeah,
That's because you're not a member of public. You're a reenactor.
I was a member of public that day.
I could tell you were a reenactor looking at me.
You could just smell you.
Smells like goods.
I love the smell of Scottish in the morning.
I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it.
So my one's an interesting one. There are a few that stick out. As with everyone, this is one of two of the racist ones. This one in particular, we were at Battle of Evesham reenactment, which is a nice, pleasant reenactment. We were under some trees most of the weekend, and we were just chilling at the camp, me and my friend Luke, and this guy comes up to us, and we find out later he's expat living out of the UK, blah 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 blah, and we quickly discover he's a few generations apart socially, shall we say? He went on about how back in the day, that beating up men of, well, this isn't the actual. I'm paraphrasing to make it polite. Beating up men of Pakistani descent. They literally travelled to Medway to beat up men of Pakistani descent, and he was bragging about this. And then at that point, me and my friend just looked at each other, and I slowly walked away as my friend tried to. Oh yeah, well you can't do that these days. Like, it was fucking.
Was it
only
interesting?
One
to you guys and thought, yeah, these are fellow lynchers.
It was bizarre because he was talking like we would agree with him. Like, yeah, you can't, like what? No, that's
weird
bad.
flex, but okay. It is legit the only thing you can say to people like that.
Yeah,
in my opinion, anyway.
The strangest thing is, like they believe it's right, so you can't really argue with them because they
believe in the right, mate.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, but it sounds like that guy needed to be fucked off.
Yeah,
Sound like they need a good clatter around the ears.
I just found it ironic he's an expat if he hates immigrants so much.
Yeah.
Well, I think that tops it for like the worst member of public.
Yep.
So to finish it on a nice, sweet note, Anna, who in the last time we had Ross on, asked if he was Signal, and Definitely one of your
Signal.
thirstiest.
Did you just say if when he was signal?
No, I said single.
You
I might have
definitely
said signal. I might have said signal. It is late, and I've had 2 pints already.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'm behind.
So
You can get it by the pint.
Anyway.
Anyway.
Just Easton is the Hobbit, confirmed.
Yeah, Anna asks, what is your favourite historically accurate food or meal, and why is it honey butter on fresh bread? And yeah, honey butter is just the best thing at a
I raise you one. Honey butter on hobnobs.
Oh,
Right?
yes. Okay.
Can I buy some edits here, honey butter? Is this?
You just make it out of
fuck.
honey.
I feel really left out because my group doesn't produce, as far as I'm aware,
Right.
don't make honey butter.
Just
and
do
I've
it
never tried
yourself. Yeah, right. What
I've
you do
never
is-
heard of it.
Crazy.
Yeah.
2 ingredients, right? Honey,
Honey and butter.
and butter.
Well,
But
do
do
you
you-
like just mash it all together?
Yep.
Yeah, there is like an ideal ratio, but yeah, pretty much. It's about
All right.
it's about 50-50.
I'll probably go make some when.
What? It's authentic, is it?
Yeah.
It's the
I think the reason to be.
salty. It's
Well,
Well, we have evidence of this being used,
it's
or is it a kind of thing where they had both honey and butter? It's obvious they mashed it together.
Possibly either. I'm not privy to the
well, we have
exact details
SpaghettiOs
myself.
and chocolate. I just picked 2 random things. I'm just saying.
I mean, you guys have said it's lovely together, so that's good as reason as any, to be honest, to at least give it a try.
I
but
think
I'm
there's
genuinely
certainly the point
interested to see if
I
there's
think
evidence.
there's certainly the point of sugar intake.
Yeah.
If they were looking for a sugar supplement, or well, they wouldn't necessarily know it's the sugar in it, but if they knew it would give them energy, then I think it's more reasonable than just eating pure honey, especially if you're trying to preserve the honey and the
Yeah.
butter.
If it's proper, I'd definitely have a little look into it because the sugar intake is something we definitely lack in terms of Eastern combat. Because sometimes we all go for, I think one of the events we do is an in-joke. We just go for more rounds than we've done the year before, and I think like this year we're on like 60 rounds if we went for it or something. They're just continuous, like you stop, no breaks, back in.
Yeah.
So that sounds like it would be a good way to take sugar intake. So I was joking, by the way. That actually seems to be a very smart choice.
Well, I will.
It's
I'll tell
really
you what,
nice.
I'll see if I can find the exact provenance for it for next episode, and
Yeah.
we'll have a
follow
honey
up on
butter
that.
discussion at the beginning of our next preamble. But as far as if I recall, it was something to do with the preservation of it, which is a kind of a recurring theme of a lot of foods from history.
Oh, the preservation of the butter.
Yeah, it was.
That's interesting,
that
yeah.
Honey is a natural preservative.
Of course, yeah.
So
Yeah,
I
does
believe
make
that
very
was
interesting.
part of it. But the only reason you should
And
do
most things butter would go with wouldn't be a negative aspect.
Mm.
I think most things butter goes with it would actually enhance the flavour.
So, well,
Um,
that's our questions for this week. And I think if we do a quick time check off the record, I think we're approaching like 2 hours.
I have a god. I have a question
Mm.
for God. Why?
I'm sorry,
On
son,
that
but
note,
So, right, that brings us to the end of the questions. We did have a few more of the usual. What is the
Silliness.
airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow?
What do you mean, African or European?
Told him.
Which we have been.
Shut
reenact-
up, biggest dickers.
We've been asked since reenactment began. So hopefully that will give some useful insight as far as asking why theme tunes are so funky and why toast belongs with beans.
Do you know why Ross is biggest dickers? Because he's our great friend in Rome.
cringe.
Cringe.
It's a good joke.
Be gone, Reeve.
Me and the boys at 2 a.m. looking for beans.
I like how your joke failed, so you just repeated one from earlier that made people laugh to try and get the popular back on your
Yes,
side.
that was intentional. It's called irony. I don't know if you've heard of it.
That's not how irony works.
This is going to be fun to edit. So, we're going to wrap it up there. And hopefully you've enjoyed this Q&A session with a healthy tangent with our good friend, the Sexy Roman.
Was.
So, we will
Was
see
the woman.
Was the woman. And who is unfortunately off the market. Sad.
I am sorry. I'm sorry
But
for
not
that.
for long. After his girlfriend hears this episode.
I was going to say after this podcast airs, I'm not going to hold out too much hope for that being a thing.
Sorry, B.
Oh dear. I'm quietly shitting myself.
Why?
No, loudly shit yourself. Have some conviction.
So while we review the footage from his holiday, we and it is a good night from myself, Goatworn Armcast, from Guthrum of Norvik, from the Shire Reeve, Just Eastern Things, and this week, Mr. Ross, the Sexy Roman.